You found us. What about this idea?
Gotta listen to this show. Why?
Because it's about the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs.
Oh, nailed it.
I didn't even look at the wall.
Nailed it.
I didn't even look at the
All
wall.
right, listen, honestly, this is a show. It's different than other shows about entrepreneurship.
It's real. It's real. Real stories.
Is it?
We tend to talk very real.
I love
And
it.
so do our guests. So come have fun with us.
Second half with Brittany Heyboer. Yeah, I did it right that time. I was like,
Very elaborate. I
I
love
thought
it.
for sure you're going to say, hey, boy.
I know.
I thought you just
really-
did it for fun.
I did think about it. I stopped. Did you catch? I stopped for a millisecond in there. I was like, oh, don't do it wrong.
Oh, that was too funny. I still like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're diving into
Okay.
questions
Second-
Sam has.
Second half. Well, I mean,
No, it's great. I love it.
there is. Okay. Let's say I am skeptical of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say someone comes to me and they're like, here's my conspiracy theory about this thing that the government did and whatever, right? And then they start telling you like, oh gosh, some of that's good though. Like some of it, I can see why you believe that. I don't believe it, but I see the parts that make sense to me, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for some people like myself, the reason why some of this seems woo-woo is because there is a part of it that seems like a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Like like whether that's religion, whether that's your conspiracy theory, whether that's some other thing that
Yes.
you can't know the exact answer. And then there's some part of it that's like, okay, but if everybody believed that, if everybody did this, wouldn't everybody then be successful? Wouldn't everybody be perfect in some way or whatever, right? So it always feels like it's yet another path to something that like, I'm not sure I can go on that path with you or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then there's other parts of it that I'm like, I love,
Yeah.
and I know that there's things that block me. I know there's things I'm not doing right.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I actually love, because a lot of my ideal clients are newer to this space. Mm-hmm. So I actually that's kind of who I attract because that was me. So 2 years ago me, 3 years ago me, not that I wouldn't have believed, but I would have been really skeptical. I'm also a hypnotherapist, so we can also talk about a lot of things that go down with that, because I might use that as an example, because there's lots of beliefs based on stage hypnosis and different things like that the work, subconscious reprogramming, the biggest thing is people think I'm coming in to make you do things, my stuff too.
Sure.
Is a lot of the skeptic. There's also a religious aspect, and I am a deep Christian who loves Jesus, so I have a very strong perspective on that, but I have a lot of Christians or other religious individuals who see this work from the devil, the enemy, different things like that.
I mean, isn't it? It's all wrapped up in the same crap, though, because you've got, and I'll let you keep going, but you've got Western medicine versus Eastern medicine, right? And it's like, well, but when the people I've known who've had cancer get the cancer, and the Western way of treating it saves them, that's a good thing, right?
Amazing.
And then there's but why aren't we integrating some of these things that this entire other group of people are doing that keep them maybe from getting the cancer or something, right? Or that is just different, a different way of doing it. And is this the only way, or is this the only way? No. But people who become sort of zealots about one thing or another have then a hard time acknowledging that there might be more than one way, or it might not be the entire truth. It might be a good thing or a part of it or whatever, So.
Yeah, and it's that blend that I feel really passionate about. Again, I feel called to be in this space and to make my mission at Unlock Her Co. is to make subconscious reprogramming mainstream. Like I want to be in every room possible, that every woman, again, because I'm focused on women, but also I hope that this gets to men, and that there are actually, we're seeing more men do these certifications and things like that. And not to say a man wouldn't work with a woman, but sometimes it's easier to work and feel more comfortable with the same sex. And so, I feel called to blend things together and help people see that neither are bad. And here's what I would say about my work in the skeptics is if you don't believe it, it won't work for you.
Of course. Yeah.
Because there's that belief inside of you that's going to be looking to prove it wrong. And I've actually worked with some people who it didn't work as well because they came in really skeptical, and though they wanted it to work on the surface because they knew they had a lot to work with, there was a deep belief like this won't work for me.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's, I know that there's science behind this. Of course, I have none of the actual data, but I know that, in pill form, in medical science, in America, a placebo is often as effective as the actual thing, right? Or can be in certain cases. And then there's also outcomes are measurably, demonstrably better if you believe that it's going to work and you're going to get better. Like, so what drives that, right?
Yeah.
Subconscious, of course, right? Yeah. And all of the inner workings of our body.
Yeah.
So
it is that. It's like you hear that all the time. And it's not the only thing that's going to help people get better, but it's like most of our pain points and issues inside our body are driven by emotions and different things that have happened to us. And so that's why the Eastern and Western medicine really matter, because it's important to get that support from medicine and those things like that. But it's also super important to understand, where is that even coming from? Like I currently am dealing with some leg pain, and what I've uncovered is, I need to do some things from a Western perspective, but also it's actually a buildup of fear from some things that have happened over the last couple of years because it came on in a particular situation. And so I'm coming at it from both ways, and it's working faster.
And that's helpful.
Surprise, right? Yeah. So again, it's the blend of both, because I'm not here to say one or the other matters. It's also why, like, some people will be like, well, do you believe in therapy and different things? Because I'm not, a certified therapist. And I was like, actually, again, like I shared earlier, like there's magic to both. It's just the fact that there's a lot of people out there that it's either one way or the other. They can't coexist.
It does seem, I mean, maybe that's just sort of human nature. Like we think of things in these binary choices, right? Because not everybody practicing Buddhism lives to 198 years old or forever or something. If we could tap into the best parts of everything, and our life would be 100% perfect all the time, wouldn't we live forever? Like, nope, they still die. They still have ailments. They still get sick. There are things that happen along the way. So it's clear, at least in my mind, the skeptical part of it for me is I'm always looking for other things, other solutions, other answers that might be out there in the world. I have a fear when people say, I've got the answer. It's like, oh, you do you? Like, you got it all?
Yeah.
But
that's curious. I'd be curious about what that means. And even they don't believe it's going to work thing. And that seems like another level of self-sabotage, right?
That one's pretty clear to me. If you think it's not going to work, guarantee it won't.
It's probably it won't. And in a sense, you're really fighting for that belief to stay. Especially Americans. Now that we'll go back to the Dutch thing, but Americans are known.
Let's do some American history.
Just going to bring this back to the Dutch. Americans are known for being gullible. Right?
Yeah.
And so...
I hate that one. But anyway, go ahead.
I know, right? And there's so much to unpack
there. There is.
Right?
If we have a little chance, I'm getting into it.
We're also the drivers of economy for the entire world, right? And so there's something about naivete that allows us to be innovative, that allows us to be, strong in building and creating. And we're some of the best builders and creators in the entire world. And when you allow yourself to be a bit naive, that's you allow vulnerability and you open yourself up to learning.
Yeah.
So I can imagine. There's something in there that I too want to protect. Like
that part of it's near and dear to my heart.
The world is not flat. Okay.
No.
I'm clearly sure of that.
Oh, I think we can totally agree upon this. Yes. But some people are going to be like, yes, it is. I can see it.
I can see it.
Flat, and you're like, dang it.
Look, it's flat.
Dang it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I will never be in a place to like try to convince someone, because I don't believe that's my role. I'm here to share. And if you're open to it and you want something different for yourself and you've tried all the things, because what happens is a lot of the women I work with are same place as me, personal development junkie, read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, followed all the gurus, did all of that, signed up for the courses, did the professional development they were provided, and yet they were like, why do things still feel hard? Why do I feel stuck in a particular area of my life? Because I don't work just with one area. It's kind of whatever comes up, and sometimes it's a health thing, sometimes it's motherhood, sometimes it's, I know you were talking about just results of people. Sometimes it is about their business. Sometimes they come to me about their business because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but it has nothing to do with their business.
Right.
It has everything to do with
right? Or it always maybe.
Yeah. Or it's like you think that if you get this business goal, that's because I'm very outcome based. That's something else I haven't shared, is everything I do is about an outcome you want. So this isn't like come and talk to, I mean, we will talk, but we're working towards a very specific outcome that you want. And it might be, that outcome might shift, because as you get deeper, like I was saying, some people will come and be like, I want to hit this revenue goal. I want to, do X, Y, Z in my business. And then they uncover, I'm not reaching that goal because of this other thing in my life. And so then we go and focus on that and work that. And byproduct is they hit their revenue goals, hit it sooner than they thought. Like, I have a lot of clients leave their core. I have a 6-week program, and one girl was able to put in her notice 4 weeks in to go all in on her business. So it's like stuff like that.
You were going to say leave their corporate jobs, weren't you? You almost.
Yes.
You said leave their leave your corporate job. Follow us into the abyss. Let's do this.
I mean, I do have a lot of.
It's so fun.
I do have a lot of women that end up being able to do that, because the only thing standing in their way to stepping into full-time entrepreneurship is a lot of fear and doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, that has got to be sort of. It's got to be almost the primary driver that keeps people from doing most anything in life.
But I also think that, so I talk a lot about this in general to people, and that being a good business owner means that you have to do risky things, right? But what are we afraid of doing risky things, right? We're afraid of being reckless. And,
reckless is bad.
There's a difference between like Thelma and Louising off the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you guys are coming back from that.
That was a risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But was reckless. And so how do you take those risks? And I don't even want to use the word calculated, but in a way that is about, it's almost like a feeling inside, a little inkling that that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's also got to be a little bit uncomfortable.
But it's like, wait,
no
is
matter
this
what,
reckless?
it will be uncomfortable.
Is this reckless? I don't know. I think so. No, it's not. It's just a risk. I can't tell
taking
because
on
I'm
a new
still
business
afraid.
partner and starting a podcast with him when you didn't know him at all, and you didn't do any research. It wasn't like you were like, let me look you up real quick. You were like, yeah, let's do it.
I did.
Like, is that reckless? Or is that,
Well, I think it's clear in retrospect, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know if it's clear.
Let's go 5 years from now. Was it or not?
Yeah, I think the jury's still out. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
But the thing is that even if it was, it's not like I said, let's go learn how to drive race cars on our own without any training.
No, would you like to build an airplane? Have you ever done that? No, I've never done that. Let's do it.
No, exactly. So it's not like it was a choice that would kill us or a choice that would hurt other people. It was, though, spontaneous.
Yeah.
Right? And what does that mean? What I would be afraid of is that I would go and say, that was reckless. And as soon as I say that, As soon as I say that was stupid,
Yeah.
right? Then I make it all wrong.
Yep.
And I don't want to do that, right?
No, because there's so much that
Exactly.
I mean, look at how much we've both learned already.
Even the mistakes that I've made in business otherwise.
Right.
Not mistakes.
Learning things that you learn
Yeah, it
from.
was just like, I don't mind failing. I don't mind failing. Should I bring up the pollywog again? No. I'm
No,
not going
we've
to.
done that one. When you said the rest of the world looks at us sometimes as gullible or whatever, like that hits me a certain way because I like even on this show, I prefer to come in with the naivety, right? I could do the thing, and I understand why people do it, but I would prefer to put myself and maybe our guest in the uncomfortable position of me not knowing them.
Yeah.
And I think of that like not so much as gullibility, but as optimism and as like I feel like Americans are eternal optimists in a certain way, which looks like gullible. It looks like the same thing as gullibility if you're more of a pessimist. So if you're a pessimist, you're gonna be like, I got this and I'm saving it, right? And Americans
Okay,
are
so
like,
how can I bring this up without
world is
alienating
wide open.
people? But think about this, right?
Yeah.
So then if this is not a real example, okay, but if
where are we going?
50% of Americans decided to believe in Hitler as a great leader,
Okay.
right? And they were convinced that he was saving them from all the poisonous people or whatever he was doing, right?
Right.
Not that that's happening now, but it kind of feels like it could be. Like what is that reckless or is that risk? Or what?
Ooh.
Do we have a collective subconscious? No.
You're getting into some deeper stuff. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
because I could be gullible that way. Because there's like social psychology, right? Like you've heard
the
that
hard part
the
of that one is-
experiment where someone's getting beat on the road
And people pass by.
and they see two other people just watching it, and then the whole crowd just watches it happen
Right.
because it's like that social psychology.
Yes. Except for some of us who are like jumping right in the middle of it
Yeah,
because
well,
I can't fucking stop
It's the
myself.
risk takers.
Why is this happening? Everyone else is like, leave it
takers.
alone, leave it alone. You're gonna get.
We need people like that.
Oh, I've done it so many times in my life. Like, oh, is someone gonna hurt someone else? Let me get in there.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Get
matter
hurt.
if it's me as long as they're okay. Well, and the thing I want to share about your point about the gullible, the optimist, like we all have different definitions of those words because we all have different models of the world. And our models are built by your subconscious, your beliefs, your thoughts, your identity, your programming, whether you like it or not. It's where our biases come from too. So as much as, like I said, I have been thinking a lot about corporations, and it's like, yes, so we want to help with the biases that happen in the workplace. Unfortunately, because we're not getting to the belief system, we're just putting Band-Aids over things. Because whether or not somebody believes they're biased or not, like unfortunately, you might be because of these subconscious belief, like not even being aware that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And what happens is when you have those filters, I love to share this fact too, is that we take in 2.3 million bits of information every second of every day through our 5 senses. And
We're pretty amazing that way.
yeah, like in right,
We are.
like
Yeah. It's crazy.
and then what happens is it gets filtered by your subconscious filters. And it only brings forward to your conscious mind 126 bits of information.
Yeah.
So when you think about what you are literally, that's why we can sit here today and we're all going to have a different experience. All the listeners are going to take something different away based on their filters.
So many of them are going to take away some knowledge about Holland, so the Dutch, like
all the things.
I mean, some science, some
Verboten.
facts.
Verboten. But right, like we're filtering by those things, which is what you all were sharing earlier. It's like you want to focus on what you do want, because if you're focused on what you don't want, you are filtering for those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are
This I hear all the time.
Yeah. Say it again, Brittany. Say it again.
When you're focused on what you don't
hear it
want.
all the time, and I completely believe it. I completely
Is
believe
there
that one.
something that you don't?
That one's an easy one.
Yeah.
The easy one is understanding that I believe that to be true.
Yeah.
The hard one is not thinking the thing that I'm supposed to not be thinking.
Well, right, because I always
and then
use
then
this.
you beat yourself up
Yeah.
for
You're
thinking
like,
the thing
damn
you're
it,
not.
why'd you do that? And then you're like-
I'm building myself for beating myself up for thinking the thing that I don't want.
The loop.
Right? And I always use this. It's like, don't think of a blue tree. Did you? think
Oh
of it?
shit!
There
There's
you
the
go.
blue tree.
Yeah, and it's the same. I always talk about this is why there's a lot around parenting around not saying don't do something to your kid. If you've seen that out there, it's because your subconscious has to cross out the don't and bring turn it into
I'm not
a
following
don't.
you. What,
Yeah.
do that one again.
Let me back up.
Let's be safe.
Yeah.
Let's
around
go
this
through that one a little more slowly.
Yeah. So if you're like, don't jump off the counter, they have to work to recognize you're saying don't, because all they hear is do. Like
Jump
their
off the
initial,
counter.
right? Because when I say don't think of a blue tree, you think of a blue tree.
I worked with kids forever. I think I just know this from my
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
right. Good, because like, yes, if you say don't do that, the thing that they do, the very fucking next thing they do is the thing you just told them not to do. I know that.
Yeah, but people don't, like, they do it all the time.
I see this. It drove me nuts over the years. I would see people say, "You're not going to like this food," and I'm like, well, you know what? You just guaranteed this child isn't going to eat that. So what else you got?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas if you say, "Oh my gosh, you're going to love this. It's super special power soup," or whatever,
Yeah.
they're like, "Is it super special power soup?" You know it, and then they eat it.
Language, like we were talking about earlier, language matters so much. And it's that our subconscious doesn't understand negatives. And it has to work really hard to understand that you're telling them not to do something. It's the same when you're like, I don't want to feel that. Like, a lot of people know what they don't want, and then they're stuck in those cycles. I don't want that. I don't want to work. For me, it was like, I don't want to work at my corporate job.
Okay.
Well, and then it was really that I wanted to go all in on my business, but I was so focused on I don't want to work on my corporate job that I kept working at my corporate job, and I kept not being able to. And as soon as I shift that what I actually wanted to go all into my business, things started to shift. And I started to use different filters of ways I could get creative, because a part of my story was it felt reckless at the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey to leave corporate. And honestly, it would have been had I done it right away, because I had 2 kids in daycare.
Right.
And so there are realities, right, to what is, you were talking about reckless and a risk. And what I ended up doing is that as soon as I flipped that, I started seeing unique opportunities I went part-time. So I went down to 50%.
Yep.
And that allowed us to bridge a little bit, get comfortable with what that was going to feel like.
Yep.
Because we had a lot of stories around money, and there's a whole money mindset stuff. But it's like that feeling of, it still was a risk to leave. We didn't have, there was a certain amount of money that I was committed to make
It's always
to
a
leave.
risk to do something new like that, of course. Even if
and entrepreneurship it's not consistent.
Even if you
so.
try and mitigate it, we've talked about this before, even if you try and level the path out in front of you, you're going to trip on something along the way. Something's going to come up.
And you have to decide what that looks like for you, right? What is reckless versus risk? And that's also what I work with a lot of clients on. It's like, do you really need to have all those things in place? Cool. Or can we get creative, and what other ways could this happen? And when you start to change your belief systems and do things differently, you become so resourceful, because there's all these possibilities are endless around you, right? We were talking about the amount we filter. A lot of times you're filtering out things that are right in front of you that would be helpful.
I feel like I'm doing that right now in life. No, I really do. Yeah, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I'm not even recognizing this or that, but anyway.
Yeah, and that's based on, what's
I
happening on the inside, because your subconscious wants to support you, but it doesn't always know. Especially, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't even know what I want. And it's like, your subconscious can't help you, and you're not going to see more until you do
So is
the
that
work.
your conscious mind saying, I don't know what I want?
Yeah.
And then your subconscious is like, well, until you figure it out, I'm just going to do whatever then.
Well, and also your subconscious just operates.
Yeah.
It does what you tell it to do. So if you say, I don't know what I want, it's like, okay, you don't,
But
make it right. You don't know what you want. That's what we'll do.
All the things.
We'll continue to not know.
Reinforcing.
Yeah. I mean, is that okay? So, but is that
Go for it.
well? Is that Betty, or is it Margie?
Marge.
Because I don't have two that I know of. I think I only have one voice.
Yep.
And it feels to me like it's the same voice, and sometimes it's like, "Great job today. You're the best."
Well, who is the voice talking to then?
Me.
So like,
You. Yeah.
It's always talking to me.
Yeah.
It's always
so
the
that's
same
the two.
thing.
That's the two voices.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just how I frame it or
Right.
something, right? Like, there's my rational side, me, that I speak outwardly, but I can also speak inwardly sometimes. And I'm always talking to the same other me, but sometimes that other me is like a real advocate for me, and sometimes it's like, you're a total dick.
Sometimes it's Betty, and sometimes it's Marge.
I get
it
it.
just kind of
Yep.
morphs.
It's the same person, same thing or whatever, but it's like, way to screw everything up today, buddy.
It's like the devil and the angel.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking when you were talking about your two. I'm like, oh yeah, that is.
Yes,
the
but they're
enlightened
not
person.
different to me. In my mind, they're the same. They're the same thing because it's this other me that I talk to.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
just
just one other me.
Yeah.
You know.
It's, have you ever read the book? I'm sure you have, because you and I have probably read a lot of the same self-help books. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So Eckhart Tolle is, I guess we're having kind of a German thing. I think he's German or Austrian or something, right?
Of course he
Anyways,
is.
something like
Russian.
that.
Who knows?
I mean, they are very different. But he was suicidal, and he had decided that he was going to kill himself. And when he was about to do it, he was rationalizing it, right? He was saying, I just can't live with myself. I can't live with myself anymore. And in one moment he went, well, who's the I that can't live with myself?
Yeah, right.
Like, who's this other person?
Yeah.
Right.
And he had a massive transformation where somehow or another
epiphany.
he was able to let go of all the subconscious and the ego, and now has written books about the power of now. And I mean, it's kind of miraculous what happened to him. He went from being completely 100% ego and living in his subconscious to being pure consciousness at all times. I mean, that just doesn't happen very often. And so he had that same reality, that voice that I just can't live with myself anymore. And then saying, well, wait, who's the I?
Yeah.
And who's this myself? I can't live with myself. Is there two people in here?
Yeah.
I mean, but that is like we're talking about.
It's
There
coming
is this,
from inside the head.
Yeah, there's this
That's basically what it is.
inner critic or enlightened version, whether it's blended like yours, where it kind of flips depending on what's going on, or you have two.
Right.
But yeah, most people, like you were saying, I think you said like 70%.
Yeah, that's what I've heard science-wise.
And so,
Or it's 80-20 or something.
I have
but-
I have this visual of you as a mom, right? Like you have these like two superhuman beings that you must be doing. I mean, they must be the greatest kids in the whole wide world.
I love that she's laughing because that's not the way it works. I bet they're wonderful though.
They are wonderful. I think what is one of the things that I also was going to share earlier, and this can be hard when you do this work, is you're like very aware when you're doing something that's going to leave an imprint on them.
Of course.
Because between the ages of 0 and 7 is when most of your beliefs get imprinted, and that's what you're operating from.
Yeah.
My kids are between.
Oh, good. I can start screwing mine up.
Yeah.
I'm good.
now
They're
you know.
through.
Then
I
you
didn't.
might want to ask them
Damage
because
is
their
done.
behaviors are
I
coming
have
from
asked
that.
them.
Yeah.
I have asked them
Yeah.
what things in the past. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but
it is.
I would frame the question differently, having having children and having worked with kids forever. Like,
Yes.
I wouldn't say like you have two, wonderful, well-adjusted, whatever. Like, I would say my guess would be that you have two children at home who know very deeply, very well that you love them.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing that any parent. The rest of it, you kind of got to let those little creatures get through their things. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they just need to know that they are supported and loved by you, and the rest of it, like maybe their behaviors are off sometimes. I just spit on myself. No,
and we're on
I
video.
almost choked laughing because it's like, because the psychologist, have you ever been to like a psychologist's house? Their kids are screwed up.
It's like the smoking doctor.
Yes.
The don't smoke.
I did choke up. I was choking because I was just thinking back in time, and I'm like, the people who you think should be the best parents ever, or the best spouses ever, they're like, wow, you're really a dick to your wife. Like you're a therapist for couples. You're a couples therapist, and you are a jerk.
Why does that happen?
I know, it's weird, isn't
right?
it? Yeah.
Well, because
I'm not saying you're a jerk.
No, but it is that interesting thing of like, I feel like there's two things where you get so wrapped up in other people's stuff that you don't take care of yourself. And that is something that I have such heightened awareness that like have I invest in my own subconscious practitioner. Like I'm not going to ask somebody else to do the work if I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do the work on myself. So I have my own practitioner. I do a lot of embodiment work. So I have someone who does energy work on me, breath work, different things like that. So like a full mind and body, because I was like, I have to do my own stuff. One, to hold space for other people's stuff.
Yeah, you got to clear that out.
Yeah, because I need to be able to hold that all. And I wasn't doing as much of that at the beginning, and I could feel it. And I looked around and I was like, again, all of these things impact your business. And I was like, why is my business not thriving?
What did you do back in your corporate life? What was the
I know, I never even shared one. We dove deep real fast into
We did. And I do want to say, we love our corporate sponsors on this show, right? And aren't we taking new corporate sponsors in 2025?
We are.
Yes.
We have space.
So, no, and I think people tend to look at corporate stuff as like, that's just the evil empire.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're in a little, if you're driving along the road and you're in a little Yugo, well, they don't make Yugos. That's a bad. You don't even know what a Yugo is. Yugoslavian car. Yeah. They were a joke a long time ago. I just aged myself real bad. You're in a little tiny little Honda driving along, right? You're in your little Honda Fit and you're driving down. You got like roller skates on with a little engine in it, and you're driving along the road. And there's a semi coming down the road. The semi isn't necessarily out to get you. It's just got a job to do, and that's to be huge and carry shit, right? And that's kind of what the corporate. So they're not always evil, unless they're the semi that wants to run you over.
No, I never had that point of view. I just know that I could not be able to survive in a corporate setting.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm too much. I can't follow rules well. But tell us what you did.
So my background is I have my master's in human resources and industrial relations.
Okay.
Got it from the Carlson School. My husband and I were grad school sweethearts. So he's also in the HR world. And I interned for a company, joined the company. Like it was all the things you should do out of grad school. Like got that full-time offer, moved away from Minnesota, worked for a Fortune, I think they're in the 100 or 500 or whatever, followed my career around, did, HR business partner work, different specialist work, ended up finding myself gravitating, no surprise, into learning and development and leadership development. So most of my career was spent doing the conscious work with employees.
Right.
No surprise, like I just gravitated. I love that. I loved seeing like the light bulb go on. But what I now look back and go, there was a lot of light bulbs that didn't go on, and now I know why. Why?
Right.
But yeah, and then I was living in Louisville, Kentucky. We put roots down, had our first kid there. We don't have any family there. We loved it, but knew that I wanted.
Did you love it because there was no family there?
No. No. That's a big part of our story is I'm born and raised from here, have a really close relationship with my family. They're all here.
All right.
And my husband knew at some point we were moving back here. That was like the deal from the beginning of like, we will be back in Minnesota. And we thought we'd do that before we had kids, but we had our first kid, and then ended up getting an incredible opportunity to move back here and work for General Mills. So that was kind of where I did the rest of my corporate career. And it's interesting you talk about, how people feel about corporations, especially when you're an entrepreneur. And for me, I had felt that like, oh my gosh, I feel held down. I feel like I'm not I play the blame game, and I talk a lot about how like a lot of us live as a victim to our own circumstances.
We're good. Yeah.
I was like,
She's saying hi.
She's moving her hands a lot. We're a victim to our own circumstances, and that is called living at effect in my work. And so a lot of people don't realize how much they're living at effect of what's happening around them. Because at the end of the day, you always have some type of control. You may not be able to control everything in your circumstances, but there is always something you can choose to do.
Yes.
And that's living at cause. I talk a lot about living at cause, or taking radical responsibility over your life. And for me, I wouldn't have told you at the time, but I was living as a victim in corporate America. And I was pointing fingers, and I was like,
my life would be better if I weren't here at this corporate, like, yeah.
Like, well, it was just like my career wasn't moving as fast as I thought it should. I looked around. I was like, why do I keep hitting a ceiling? Like, it was just a lot of blaming and a lot of frustration. And then I had this pretty big thing happen that made me feel like I got demoted, but didn't really get demoted on paper. Like, it was a whole thing. And what I realized is I needed to have a death of my ego, because my ego and my identity was so tied to my corporate, to my corporate job, which I think a lot of people have, but I couldn't see that until a little bit later, how I was like, oh, like that actually needed to happen, because it was time for me to move, and I wasn't moving. Out of fear, self-doubt,
this
all
speaks
the things.
to me. Yes, I totally understand.
And so something had to happen to like shake me to my core, and didn't happen instantly. I was not happy. I did not handle it well, looking back.
No, you're human after all.
And kind of it started, I have a tendency to want to punish and run and leave. And I was like, if you do that to me, I'm getting out of here, and like started looking and different things. And I'd started my company, but I wasn't didn't feel safe to leave yet. So I was looking for these other opportunities. And that's when I started to do a little bit more work. So like, something's off here. And so doing a little bit more of the subconscious work, I was like, oh, I have a unique opportunity here. Like, I can do this job with my eyes closed, and I could actually pitch that I could do this job at 50%. I was like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pitch that, which I would never have done had I not just gotten honest about, you are literally living as a victim in this circumstance.
Right.
And you're looking for every opportunity of how they did you wrong. And and when you're caught up in those emotions, like, your behaviors aren't great. Your results in reality aren't great either. And it becomes a cycle. And so I was able to get myself out of that and pitch this idea, and they were wildly open to it. And
isn't that nice?
Yeah, because I think corporations are open, not all, but it's like we don't come with a really clear idea, because we're so hijacked by what happened to us.
Well, they're not as much. They're still a human organization.
Yeah.
Like, you can still speak to them, and they are going to answer questions. They're just like a bigger machine.
Yeah.
With a lot less maneuverability.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was an offer they couldn't refuse. She's like, I'll do everything you want me to do, and I'll do it
50%.
for half the cost.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
So I talked to Steve down in accounting. He said yes.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, but a lot of us don't realize that, like, it's a win-win. Like, that's what it was. It was literally a win-win situation for them to do that. And I, through that process, was able to do more deeper inner work through my practitioner and different things, and I was able to get to a place where it didn't feel reckless, and I was able to take the risk.
You
and
felt
step
comfortable
away.
with the risk that you were about to take.
And I had, instead of like, because they were looking for other opportunities for me that could allow me to stay at 50% as they were doing some more movement, as corporations do. And I ended up going to them and I was like, hey, I know you're looking at different opportunities. And I was like, I get put in my notice for 6 weeks, giving like ample amount of time for me to feel a little comfortable and for certain things to happen and for them to have a little bit of time. And I walked away from my corporate job just in July. So this is fairly new to be all in.
July of this year.
Yeah, July of this year. New to be all in this. I've been growing on La Curco for 2 years, and pre that dipped my toe into entrepreneurship by partnering with other companies. So even, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, sometimes it feels safer to partner with another company, maybe a product you love, different things like that.
It can absolutely be a great way to go.
And so I know some people don't love that approach, and there's different companies doing different things, but it's a great way to start to learn in kind of a container how to build your personal brand, how to do some other things. And that's what I did. So I started partnering with a health coaching company. And then from there was able to really uncover what I wanted to do, and Unlock Her Co. was born 2 years ago.
And you're thus far very happy with the results of all of this and love it.
Very, very happy, but also challenging, right?
Yeah,
because
good.
I think, your business only grows as much as you grow, and growing can be painful.
Yeah, well, I think it almost always is.
And there's a lot of, like you were saying, a lot of feedback. A lot of
to be like, wow, that growth was easy and fun.
Yeah.
I think you work your muscle around it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like after a while, it's like, oh, here comes the owie part.
Yeah.
I've done this before, no problem.
Yeah.
It's going to be owie.
It does get easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It gets more familiar.
Yeah. And
right.
resilience, right, is a big
I'm sure
one.
we're at time, aren't we?
Yeah.
Damn.
Well,
I have like
you know.
8,000 more questions. Okay, so I think we should do a follow-up session on this, but
I think we should have you in for a small group here at some point.
yeah, definitely have people in and
Maybe do a technique.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about techniques.
we didn't
today.
even talk about the techniques.
No, and we can save that. You can, if you want to know what the techniques are. I mean, this is something that you could do a whole series on. This is just dipping your toe. If you're listening to our show, this is what we do. We're introducing you to something. This is not us giving you some in-depth knowledge of the Dutch culture or whatever.
What do you mean?
A lot of different cultures.
People are very enlightened.
I mean, that'll be the comments.
no.
That Dutch part was really
We get deep,
enlightening.
but it's also a little bit surface.
That's exactly what they'll say. Was that the Dutch one you were talking about? And it's like, no, that was Brittany.
Yeah.
That was not about the Dutch. That
Please
was a
don't
side
follow
note.
me for more Dutch information.
A wealth of knowledge on Dutch culture.
What
Brittany
was it? Like
Heyboer.
that little AI thing that pulls out our shorts.
Oh, God,
Only
yeah.
going to be about the Dutch.
It always is something. It's always something that it was like such a minor part of the conversation, but it was just like a kind of a ding dong thing to say.
It was clearly coded by men, too, because it's always pulling out me.
It is always.
For men.
I'm like,
and
what?
what they
Why are
say.
you pulling out?
It is
Like,
always pulling you out.
or at least, I'm like, what? It feels like it anyway. I'm like,
That feels like it to me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, coded by men,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly.
Like,
AI coded by men.
Get the ladies in here, you know?
Anyway, okay, should we do a big idea? Do we have a big idea?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. I haven't.
So we always end our show with an idea.
Okay.
I mean, it can, if you don't have one, you don't have one. If you have one, you have one. I mean, you know how I always get kind of woo-woo about my ideas.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Do you have an idea?
Does anyone? This is where you maybe should plan a little. No planning whatsoever.
I mean,
have you got an idea this week?
What's
Like an idea.
like a business idea.
A business idea.
This is what could, would happen next.
Yeah. It's something that I feel passionate about, and I'm going to be building over the next 6 months. And I see it as kind of people are familiar with LinkedIn Learning, but I am building kind of the subconscious reprogramming app for people, women in particular, where you can go, and I want it, I believe it should be mind and body, so bringing in nervous system regulation work and different people, so it's your go-to place for that deeper learning and that deeper. So you can go in, and we didn't talk about techniques, but there's just different techniques that you can use as different feelings or beliefs are coming up. And there's not really a lot like that out there. People have made tiny versions of it, or focused on like hypnosis or different things like that, and mine will be broader. But that's my idea. I already have
A larger system approach, because it is a larger system approach. It isn't just hypnotherapy. I love this idea. My idea was really like that, except for it was like a phone booth that you go in and it just does it for you.
Oh yeah, where it's just kind of like
It just removes all the ick And
Press
it
a
puts
button.
in all the light. Removes in all the ick
You just
and
took
puts
my-
in all
yeah.
the light, right?
I was
and,
like, you just really
And if you
upped
need
that.
a physical thing, it's in there, right?
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
need some pressure or vacuum or steam
Yeah.
or whatever it is,
Little
it's in there.
radiation on a little thing, little
Red light
Right.
therapy.
There's
is big
laser
right
over
now.
there.
You just
Yeah.
go in and you release
It's a full
it.
mind and body thing.
Yeah, it's like
I love that.
Like the movie The Fly, you know, when he goes from
Oh, that
one
worked
place
out
to
well.
the other and they
Yeah.
accidentally got a fly in there.
Yeah.
Like that you go into the next thing, but you leave all your shit
Behind.
in that one.
I mean, everybody be doing that if you can go in and press that button. I love that.
I know.
I mean,
That
maybe in the future, right?
Listen.
Do you come out 10 years
You
younger?
know, most people who have come out with life-changing
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the biohacking
inventions,
stuff.
everybody thinks they're crazy when they first come up with it.
Oh, I like that one.
Okay, all right.
Well, I'm here to partner with you on
All right,
that.
we're in.
Well, I'm going old school.
You are?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why this was on my mind the other day, but like, no, I think that America needs to bring back the CCC. That's what I think. And the CCC is what?
Okay, I was like, I don't know. Is this an inside
I can totally see it on your faces. You're like, what the fuck is the CCC?
I couldn't look at you, but I was like, what is the
It's the Civilian Conservation Corps, and this happened in the 30s after the Depression. And they took a whole bunch of, at the time it was young men, now it would be young people, right? And they put them to work on public works projects. They paid them really well. They learned how to organize themselves into groups who kind of were the leaders, how to do some, a project together. And they got paid for a few years, and then they came out and they were more productive. It was good for society. And
Yeah.
a lot of big things got done at the time. And I just think
like that.
America, I just think the kids could use something because it's a little confusing out there right now.
It is certainly confusing. Yeah.
You know, and so if for those kids, maybe like let's look at the middle of
Or maybe
America.
kids at heart, like I would do that.
Well, there might be some restrictions on.
age?
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to go with kids.
It's a little like Peace Corps.
We could create an adult version.
I'd like an adult version, please.
An adult
Yeah,
version.
can there
It's a
be
little like the Peace Corps, but it's
Yeah.
just American projects.
Yeah.
And they did work, I think, from like 33 to until the start of World War II.
I love that idea.
Yeah, because then all the young men went over. But anyway, yeah, and the thing is, it's just then you think of like how hard hit middle America is with the opioid crisis and stuff. Like, what prospects do these kids have? Like, why wouldn't we as a country want to give them some hope and opportunity and a little structure? But anyway,
Love it.
Love it.
okay,
Love it.
bring
Very
back the
practical.
CCC. Yeah, it was. It's not. I mean, ultimately, what's going to be better for the world? Probably your booth that you hop in and it fixes everything. But
People like that quick fix. It's like Amazon Prime for your mind and body.
I don't want to look at the dark parts.
there's only one
It's just
button.
like a vacuum.
There's only one button in it, like fix. Okay.
I don't know what it's fixing or who I'm going to come out as. Marge or Betty.
Well, you could have like 3 buttons, like
extreme.
economy, the
peace and love.
the deluxe or the Supreme. It's like the car wash.
It is kind of like a car. I
got $28.95 on me
I
today.
should get the
what
rain
can I
guard.
pay for?
Which one can I afford?
We're gonna have it in your prototype in your studios.
Yeah.
We need animation. That's what we need.
Like,
Okay. All right.
reach-
Thank you.
Transformation
I think we
Tuesday
should-
when it's all discounted and there's a line around the block. It's like all the people and everyone's like, oh, I don't go
Here
on
for the
Tuesdays.
extraction.
I got a few bucks. I'll wait till Thursday. Anyway.
Oh man.
Oh, silliness. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Brittany.
Thanks for having me.
Brittany.
I'm excited
So
to have
much
you
fun.
back. I'm excited. I'm excited for everyone to know that that their blocks may not be consciously dealt with.
Yep.
You know,
And they're certainly not insurmountable, right?
Yeah, they're
These
not
are things that you
insurmountable.
can actually work on.
I love that.
Exactly.
That's good.
I love that is the point that I want everyone to know. Both points, honestly, because it's like people do feel like this is just who I am.
And
I
this can never be fixed.
I mean, that a lot of people feel that way because they don't know that there are tools out there that can help them. So, yeah.
Yes. I'm imagining for me, it's going to be like big power tools.
This is quite the.
That's what I visualized for you. We're just gonna,
Frankenstein.
that's his version of it.
Those
I
kind
will
of
not
tools.
be your gal for that.
We've gone off the deep end. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
What about that idea? Okay.
Don't cry. It's over.
Oh, you did it. You made it to the very end of the show. You know what you can do to help us? What can they do to help us? They can tell their friends how awesome this show is.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You know what else? And I don't know if people know this or don't know this, but like if you found us and you see us on socials somewhere, just hit repost or share it with your community.
Share, repost, follow. Isn't there a follow option?
Yeah,
of some
follow,
kind?
subscribe. We're not going to charge you anything.
No.
Just hit the subscribe button.
No,
It's
we
not gonna
just
hurt
need
you.
to create a community around entrepreneurism and how the real shit happens.
I like it. Well, because we're real. You said it in the intro.
Real.
We talk real. No, seriously, tell your friends. What a great show. Oh my gosh, these people are doing the best work ever. Yeah, right?
That's what you should say.
Yeah.
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 And just come back. Have fun with us. We love this.
We'll have someone, we'll interview someone cool next week too.
Someone completely different.
Yeah, from prison. Thanks.
We always have to add that.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.